G'day guys, welcome to today's tutorial. Today is one of the all-time exercises in my particular opinion. If you ever want to pump your ego up, this is the exercise for you. It is what I call the cable crossover single arm bicep curl. Actually a really good isolating exercise, which probably isn't targeted the way in which you can with other exercises. You see a lot of people, they'll stand there and they'll do the double, okay, and with that poses its particular issues. But with the single arm, you can use a bench, set it up as we have here, and you're able to create really good stability to pull from and really overlay that bicep in a much higher position, which the higher we go with our arm and then our bicep curl, you're going to get a far greater contraction because of the fact that our biceps, it's at its shortest versus at its longest down here, okay? So let's talk about how to get the best contraction out there. We want to create as much stability as possible, so we're going to really utilize this bench. We're also going to be doing a few little tricks and tips in order to create as much stability as possible. Number one is by pulling our shoulder blade back and down into the bench. What we are trying to do by doing that is we're trying to create as much stability through the shoulder joint as possible. When we create a nice strong anchor point, then our line of pull is going to be nice and straight and nice and strong, and you're able to gauge as much bicep as you possibly can when you do this. Okay, so what is line of pull? Well, the line of pull is how the weight in which it travels, its obvious trajectory. So what I mean by that is, if I'm coming straight up, you can see that my line of pull is nice and straight, okay? But some people find that, or some people tend to overload the inside, so they might come in like so, or the outside, and they might come out like that, okay? What this does over an accumulation over a long period of time is it can actually expose you to elbow issues with overuse issues on the inside or the outside, which potentially could result in some pain. So we want to avoid that. We want to make sure that we have a nice straight line of pull. Now the beauty about this exercise is we can actually look straight down our arm and we can bicep curl straight to our shoulder, and we can see whether or not we're going outside or inside. So we can get a real good gauge of our straight line of pull. Okay, so with our straight line of pull, what we are looking to do is to keep our wrist, our elbow, and our shoulder all in one straight line. Okay, so those are your three markers that we want to make sure that we're in line. Okay, so let's get started into the exercise. We're going to firstly grab a hold of the handle. Now we want to set this bench up so that the weight is just off the rack, and then we are slotting into the bench. We don't want to be reaching too far, it just makes it too hard, essentially. But obviously, as we come all the way out, we still want to keep as much tension through the bicep as possible. Now, let's talk about that particular tension and the skill of that, of doing that. What we need to understand is that at the longest point of the bicep, we're exposed to the most amount of damage. Okay, so this is the weakest point, and then up here is the strongest point, which is why you're able to hold yourself off things like chin-ups and stuff like that. At this point, far greater than you are maybe being able to do consecutive chin-ups for the same period of time. So the skill set that I'm referring to is we want to be able to keep tension on the bicep at the longest point, because if we don't and we let it go lax, all of a sudden all that load is traveling through the ligaments and the joint itself, and that can also lead to some injury. So we want to be keeping that tension on all the way down, coming back up, rather than just say going down, going lax, okay, versus tension, up, down, and then really stretch. You'll feel a big stretch, but we're keeping that tension on versus going lax. Okay, so let's set this up. we're going to come in here and we're going to place one knee on top, and we are looking to drop my shoulder right into the bench, okay? We want to create as much stability off the anchor point as possible. I'm going to pull my shoulder blade back and down and really open up and expose that bicep. Instead of being rounded off, I want it nice and exposed, because remember, we're looking for a nice straight line of pull. So I'm looking to line up my shoulder, my elbow, and my wrist. From here, I'm looking to come straight up towards my shoulder, towards my shoulder and back down. And that there is what I want to do. Now, I actually want this elbow to be a little bit higher, so I'm going to sink in a little bit lower, and I'm looking to keep this nice and straight and parallel. From this position here, again, up, squeeze hard, up, squeeze hard. And that there, is already loading up the bicep. Now again, we want to keep that tension on all the way down to the bottom part. We don't want it to go lax and have it all pulling through this joint. So again, shoulder blade back and down, keeping it nice and tight, and up and down you go. Keep that nice straight line of pull. Okay, obviously do one arm, move your bench across, do the other arm, and away you go. Team, that there is what I like to call the cable crossover single arm bicep curl. Fantastic exercise for the ego. Practically, it's actually not a bad exercise overall to get a bit of stimulus and a different angle into your biceps, but it probably errs on the lower end of accessory work rather than maybe a predominant exercise. But nonetheless, good fun, and go ahead, give it a go. I hope you picked up a few tricks and tips today.